for illumined life to be birthed into form. I am the truth. I am the light. Illumined, beloved, divine. So hello there, beloved Ascension Pioneers, and welcome all you lovely soul beings. So today we have another video. It's quite a surprise because I actually thought I'm only going to do two, and the third one just kept popping up. So I think, as always, you know me, I create everything in Divine Trilogy, or the Trinity of Light. So today, even though I have very dirty, sticky fingers because I entered into a very spontaneous mushroom picking, so I was a mushroomer today. Even have my mushroom hat on, looking kind of similar. And even though we're going to do this video with not such perfection as usually, you know. So just to let you know that I'm not making things up before we have today's topic, you know, to have a little play in the mix as well, because lately things have got too serious for me. So I decided to just turn it up a notch in those regards. So I want to show you a few beautiful specimens that I found today, and a few of others are already in the bag. So animals are eating them already because they love them. These beautiful, you see, porcini mushrooms, they go beautifully with my hat. So I also found some mini ones, like mini me's, so super cute, you know, super adorable. I found one right in the moss, you know, it was just hiding there, waiting for me. And the interesting fact is that, you know, with these mushrooms, porcini mushrooms, when they come, they're so rare. Usually don't see them, or you're too late because they're already full of water, you know, when it rains, and they're too heavy and you have to either dry them or you can use them. And there's only a few on every one of these that are similar but non-edible ones, you know, those that go a little red. I don't know the name. And the funny thing is, I was thinking today how this resonates with this light beings, you know, light worker community. How few of us, you know, in the general populace, every person, you know, amount of people, there's only a few of us. So that sort of makes sense. And I also want to show you what else you find sometimes in nature. Look at this. And a perfect shoe. I wonder if it fits. I don't think so. 43. Ooh, I'm only 38, so no. It already has moss growing over it, so it shows how nature always finds its way. And you know, I like to pick up trash this way sometimes. So I don't know how people lose their shoes while they're walking. I don't know. I really don't know. But I thought it was a beautiful message of things moving forward, because today I finally felt the upsurge of energy that moved me forward. I want to explain today's topic again. It isn't the lightest one of them all, which probably none of my videos are very light, except for my being. You know, I know my being, and I know the playful, beautiful side of it, but there is also this serious nature of my light being that has this mission, that has to carry it out. And I've been noticing this difficulty with obtaining the levels when these upsurges of dark energy are coming, because as of the late, for the past few months, even in my oracles, I made a self-created oracle about the journey of Illumined Union, which we do these messages on my Patreon page called the Illumined Ascension. And I use these self-made tools and other tools to kind of get the messages through. And up until this point, there's been constant, not just weekly, perhaps even bi-weekly, surges of the dark energy. So the way they were playing with the light, right? The dark makes its move, then the light makes its move. And it was always like this. And it was getting more difficult to be in this playful mode, to be this childlike, inner, beautiful, radiant spirit mode, because I was thinking and contemplating this whole summer was so freaking difficult. I just couldn't get around to feeling light and playful, because every time it was just, you know, that exciting feeling, oh, I'll do this, then a wave crashing, right? It was very intense, super challenging, and I think a lot of people around the world are having similar experiences in their own way. I've talked with a few, and those who are truly awake, they understand how we're being all, in a way, under these oppressive waves of the dark. That is the waves, these are the waves of resistance. So I made now this whole bigger picture channeling, again, it will be my 13 octave 13th audiobook. You know, I have this Elohim translations, this translations of spirit life force and mini transmissions that will one day become also a booklet and oracle with my cosmic drawings that are still there in my drawer on the safe spot. But it's just been so much, right, to create, that I desire to create, and I wasn't always able to. And then when I worked with the energy, I felt, I look back, wow, I used to do these things and had these trips. Now even my body didn't allow me. It was always either tired. I had specific pain in my joints, like everywhere. I couldn't move around as much as I used to. And when you can't move around, you're stuck with a lot of people around you here in the valley. You know, I've explained these terms and conditions before, and it's happening globally nowadays. It's difficult and very challenging nowadays to find a spot of your own resort, of your own retreat. So it's been very challenging. I just couldn't really move with that. And I piled up a lot of this heaviness and sadness. And for the past few weeks, I've even noticed these thoughts of going away, going off the planet. And I thought, well, these were my own, and I never really had those thoughts. I was always very much pro-living. I love being here, and I taught you about the reason and purpose of us being here, and embodiment, and us doing the work, and we're not going off, the planet unless that's really specifically chosen for us. However, this illumined union journey can be so tough at times, and right at the verge of the most like grandiose epiphanies and unfoldings. There's most difficult trials happening, and we're all being tested. And I've noticed this, like we're being challenged to the very core, by these interchanging waves of dark and the light. When the light makes its move, I even have days when I say, well, today is the light day. Then maybe at the end of the day, chemtrailing comes again, and the heavy wave of energy, when sometimes it just knocks you down, and we feel like hypnotized. And it's the energy of these neurotoxins that do affect our bodies. We are being affected. And I've talked a lot. I mean, our whole sequence of videos on Patreon and the Goddess Love sessions and all the training, mastery building has been about this, how to establish the inner light quotient, and not just that, but to maintain it. And there are certain systems of how to work with the life force for us to eventually become impenetrable, which of course in this vulnerable stage of becoming a butterfly out of, the cocoon or the caterpillar stage, it's a very vulnerable stage in which we're all being affected also, and we're having these waves of emotional distress and physical distress and mental distress as well with these thoughts. I call them the whispers. They actually do exist. These are the lesser energies that there's beings employed, so-called, by the darkness. I call them the minions, whose only task is to whisper these things, the negative traits and qualities and thoughts of desperations and despair at large. And sometimes people who pick them up, which all the sensitive beings, we're like these mushrooms. I'm probably showing them today. It's like sponges, right? And although a general message today is harvesting, it is abundance, that they also are very firm. They're also very fragile, right? Look at this beautiful firm mushroom that keeps being eaten up, from inside. But that's the mushroom's purpose. However, our purpose is not to be eaten or swallowed up by, these interchangeable waves that when the darkness hits. And I've been constantly getting these messages, storm warning, dark energies. I even have a card in my oracle, and it's been popping up every week. And every time the card fell out, I went into this integration mode. So Spirit told me that with each wave, it's getting more challenging, it's getting more difficult. So the training or skill building has to grow exponentially with those changes. But in a way, darkness is moving us. It's making us less static, because life force always moves to its highest optimum potential. And we have to do the same. So in those terms, right, we're being moved. And through the darkness, we integrate just how we activate through the light. And we're not just light. Here, our purpose is to build bridges. And we have to allow these waves to occur. So when those dark waves hit, we're not meant to be in fear or in desperation. We're meant to feel all those feelings, and many times, like I said, empaths will pick them up as their own, and yet they're not. And sometimes, if that's our mission, we will even swallow them up. I've been doing a lot of that work, and by swallowing those very dense energies of oppression, you're literally saying, look, I can eat them up, now what? And that's what they're showing me. It's like, now what? If I learn to be as pure in the light that I can eat that and swallow it up within my own being, I can digest it and it doesn't harm me, then what else can you do? So that was sort of my own training and skill building as of the late. And I thought, well, this will be a summer of rest and integration just for my body. Well, I didn't get a chance to do just that because it was a lot of this work of mastering this, constantly showing up. And for the past year, you know, I've been talking about how life force mastery has to now become a priority. And in my own work, I keep being nudged, hammered by the head almost, you know, to really move into complete embodiment of this, what the light beings call the creation pillars. It's being called the galactic pulsar of light. It's not just a technique or meditation you do, it is a state that you get to embody. And it's actually the living pulsar. I've been channeling, this is all in the audio book. Well, it will become an audio book. It's just a channeled raw format now, but I'll announce when it's out. Either way, you can always visit a page and get the booklet you like, and this is how you also support my work. And eventually it will become also an oracle, you know, to work with the understanding of Holy Spirit and how everything in creation functions, because that's where I come from. Understanding creation laws and principles, how life force is translated into maintainable, manageable form for living life systems, from being just raw, you know. It's like translating the language of spirit into the language of creation. So it's a very intense process. There's a whole array of light beings that serve this purpose, and of course a lot of minions who like counteract that, right? It's how it is in life and creation. So we always have assignments and tasks, and outwitting each other, outgrowing the skills of each. So sometimes they undermine us or vice versa. So we have to be always up and alert. So the point of this video today is how to always be at the state of constant preparedness. And this week I'm doing on Patreon a Goddess Love session just about that. It's exactly going to cover this, how to manage and maintain ourselves, because a lot of people are finding difficulties in being aligned with the new energies because there's been so much interference. Interference is a constant. When the weather patterns are being modulated artificially, and you know, that's one of the greatest sins, to hijack the life force that's natural, right? From my terms, from where I come from, the living descent of the light beings are called the tantrikas who do that. From the galactic center of light, we sort of like discharge the energies, but we have to translate them, we have to encode them, and then we have to get them into state and form that they're coming and, you know, moving into life in flow, which seems to be happening so easily and effortlessly, right? When you look at everything in life, it's just, how does the sun shine? How does the stars hold? You know, there's beings holding orbital patterns together. So everything looks effortlessly when you look at the vastness of creation, and yet there's so much work behind all this. We do work behind the scenes all the time, and it's not even behind the scenes, it's up there in the front lines. It's just not visible as people might think it to be. So this constant state of preparedness, it's what's calling us at this time, and it's so needed. That's why the shoe came out, right, in the middle of forest. It's like, be prepared all the time, because you never know who you meet. Right? And I'm not talking about physical opponents. I'm talking about the very nature of energies. It's like we're being challenged and bombarded with energetic patterns that we hadn't had to deal with before. Like when I was going through my training and initiations, it was so, like at that point it felt like, wow, that's the ultimate that I can, you know, experience. Yeah, heck, I was wrong, you know. Each time it's like, you know, new spanking on the butt. It's like, get into your new state, get into a new form. And I'm talking about the light being integration, and I've already informed you this will be a next month's course on Patreon for those of you who really want to get prepared, who really want to understand this process and start working on it, because it's becoming crucially important. No one is immune to anything that's happening now. We're talking about the team light here. We're not talking about people who are not affected because they're not choosing this path, but when you're choosing the path of ascension, you will be obstructed, because that's the counteracting programming that wants to prevent this from happening. So we're all undergoing this. So if you're noticing these intense obstacles, it's not because, oh, I might have blockages or this is the wrong path for me. It's not always so. You have to really get straight into the discernment what's what. There are no black and white rules that some, new age principle will tell you what it's all about, and you get to follow it mentally instead of being at the core of your heart and courageous and finding out by yourself what it truly means. Is it really something that universe, whatever you call it, I call it the Holy Spirit, life force of all life, in creation, the beautiful intelligence of the divine that moves everything forward, through which all is being designed, created, nurtured, nourished into life. And it's not always telling you, you're not supposed to be here on this planet, or this is not supposed to be your path. At this time, usually these obstructions are showing us we're doing something good and we're being counteracted, right? So I will have to share something with you, because I've just gotten this beautiful, interesting new oracle. I wanted something more playful. So I ordered the Illuminated Tarot. So amazing, because my path is of Illumination. And the moment I saw it, I was like, wow, this is beautiful, because it also, it's designed a little differently. It doesn't have the standard 76 or how many cards of traditional tarot. It doesn't have major arcana, actually. It puts everything into playing cards, right? You have aces, and what are they called? The people in the decks. I forgot now. The characters. And then you have numbers from 1 to 10. So usually it's like a minor arcana within which is embedded the higher arcana or the major arcana. So it's very interesting, and I like it. These are also playing cards, so you can have it on the go. And today I did my first reading with these cards. We're just flying up and about, and exactly what I was thinking about and contemplating came out. I'll show you the cards. But I want to say that what I've been talking about first, understanding the galactic perspective, learning how to be not afraid to be more awake than you think it's possible, or that you already are, and keeping it real there, because we're always growing into new states. So with the light being integration, I'm noticing that every next step of my being will take more of me, will ask more of me, will ask more of the showing up in terms of doing the techniques that Spirit is showing me. It's not just coming into awareness and sharing about them. I actually have to learn how to master them, embed them into my human life, which isn't always easy, because my human life, my inner child, has been suffering for the past few years because it didn't really have enough for itself. I mean, there's moments, of course, like today, I thought I'm going to do all work, no play, but they said, look, I went there, nature bathroom, and I found my first one, and I was hooked. I was walking here for hours, and I had like the whole bag now. No equipment, nothing, but it was just randomly. So it's very important for us, of course, to nourish that, the inner child. But we first have to do the skill building, which is build your energy every day through the level of light that you are able to sustain at each moment. And for me, because I'm a living tantrika being of light, and I'm not saying I'm a total master of it here in my human incarnation right now, but I'm constantly a novice and a master at other things that I already mastered, and a novice at new ones, right? So it's always showing up and not thinking I've done my work, I can just rest, because resting on our laurels will always kick us in the butt at this time. So sometimes I just want to rest and be in my hammock, and I won't be allowed. Just a few days back, I went into my beautiful spot, and I just made a Instagram post. This is now the only place where I can still feel good, and that's it. Yeah, these people came, and I just told them something that they did. It was really not appropriate, and the woman yelled at me right in there. It was like telling me bad names, curse names. I'm like, whoa. So you're just describing yourself. But either way, attacks are different. There's attacks of the energy at large, right? These energies that I call them, they're like weaving their magic on us, but we need to do our white light magic. White light magic is supreme. It's above everything. But if we don't use it, we're almost like Harry Potter without a stick, right? Without his wand. So it's like these attacks can also come from other human beings. They might not be as intense, they're not direct, but they're indirect attacks as well. But all sources and means are being used, and we might think, oh, it's just someone telling me off and, being rude. And no, they're actually bombarding you with low energies. And the fact now is not that shielding yourself, now you shield yourself and you're good. You call an Archangel Michael and you're done. No. Because let me tell you something, shielding is actually a negative trait that the New Age has developed, because in shielding, you shield yourself from everything. You shield yourself from your further growth and development. That's a hoax there. Protection, yes, but protection has to be breathable, just like when you wear not false, but artificial materials, your skin can breathe, and all of your sweat is being contained in your body, right? It's not a breathable thing. It's the same with protection. Nothing comes in, nothing comes out. It's the same thing. So with direct protection through learning to master your light technology within, that's how you're growing. You're like breathable. You still allow initiation to come because we have to be initiated by the dark as well. Otherwise, we can counteract it. We're getting static, and it's like we ourselves get stiff, and all we do is complain about the states and conditions, and we need to be aware of them. We can't just dance and play without first being aware what's happening. And then we do our dances, but our dances also have to become very consecration based, sacred, ceremonial, not just, oh, I get to have fun because I'm on new earth. There's still a lot of presentation of this false reality that, it's either dogmatic or it's this false light based. So the real initiation takes place with you understanding that as your light being integrates in your body, the more you receive, the more your human self has to show up and be willing to embody that. In my case, I also have challenges sometimes when the physical body that's the recipient has to take all this in. It's challenging, but I'm doing my best, and I'm sometimes saying to my team, I'm saying, look, please understand, it's not always perfect, and I make mistakes too, and I don't always do my work, and but every time still I show up. So recently what I felt was this heavy dark wave with I felt a lot of suicidal thoughts, leaving the planet, a lot of that, and I just ingested it, and I thought, well, it's my own, and Spirit said, no, it's not your own, but you've taken like a sponge so much of the toxic, because in many cases that's what I do as well. I absorb things and then like spit them out, but when I spit them out, they come in a shiny form again, and that's when I feel, I've done that. And they told me each time now with these consecutive waves of energy, they said, the team light, we've managed to integrate all of them. We've anchored all of these. I mean, I hope the pattern remains though. What I'm saying is no one knows, because after all, it's still an experiment, and whoever tells you the absolute, what's going to be the outcome, is lying to you, because no one has, it's not a predictable nature, right? No one has all the answers, because people are still choosing. And what it comes out of all of this, we will see. But what I'm saying is a lot depends on how we show up and how many of you do the work. So for me right now, where my work is, I have to develop the daily training within the galactic pulsar of life, or light, because life and light, right? One and the same in a way. This is almost like, because even when light beings visit me, every once in a while they do, and I've discussed this on my Patreon page as well, how this is and how it happens for me. They're like pulsating lights. They're like, they're like flickering lights that buzz. They have a very high speed frequency. And I understand now that because in my last visit, it was around, I think it was April or May timeline, somewhere around spring. It was so intense, and I went through the Stargate portal. And after that, I was like, what's happening? They said, it's all being incorporated into you, and it will come. And after that, like maybe a month or two after, the galactic pulsar of light epiphany came through. And now what's coming through after this summer with, some rest, they're telling me now it's time. Now it's time. The training begins. The body is still undergoing a lot of changes. So of course it has to be counteractive with balance and rest. But our days have to be designed in a way that we have everything of each. Multidimensional beings require multidimensional presence on Earth. So when I get too static, I notice, life force doesn't flow. It gets almost like, what's the word in English? We have this word, but I can't find it now. It's almost like food that's gone bad, right? Stale, right? Stalemate, right? So it feels like that. And it's very important for us to keep on moving, not just physically, because in the past I used to do a lot of hiking and mountaineering. But it's not just physical movement and of energy. Now, with me learning this pulsar of light, they were telling me I can even assist people, because I can share this, what it was called the life force transference. When someone comes with either a demand or a request, and let's say someone can't work with you personally one-on-one, let's say they don't have the finances or some other issues, or I'm not available, but the highest form that bypasses this one-on-one right exchange, which is a lot of times it's still very personal, and people put a lot of their stories into the mix. This is a transpersonal level where I'm able to harness a direct impulse and just, you know, through a pulsar, it rotates. It's like a rotor, but at the same time it goes in a spiral. It's like it goes around you, you know. So Google pulsar if you don't know, you know, as stellar speaking, like at large, what these aspects of life are and what they're designed to do. But they're telling me beings, light beings, have this developed within them, but the human self has to sort of find a way to integrate that into their daily life. Imagine that. It's not a piece of cake. And I'm still learning, I'm still being trained, and I had a Galactic Pulsar of Light course on Patreon. It was a few months ago, and it was right after we did the Divine Trinity of Life for Physical Ascension, for the Organic Ascension path. And this now becomes more, because the next stage was, I've already shared with you, the cellular reconfiguration, and now it's the full physical body. What they told me, they used the word whole body reconstruction, and it's very interesting. I think that will be a part of the new course as well. So I want to show you the cards now, so to see how they beautifully emphasize what I'm sharing today. So the first card that fell out, let me see if I can get them back in order, how they came out. The first one that I ever pulled from this deck is the Five of, you know, you recognize this? This is the air suit. It's also known as the Five of Swords. So here you have two people playing a card game. And the word literally in this tarot is about some opponent, right? Someone who opposes you. And I said exactly the game of light and dark. It's like they make a move, we make a move, and that's where you have to be constantly steady and alert. Again, it will relate to where you are, evolutionary, what purpose in creation you serve. You know, we don't all have such a supremely responsible task. You know I do, and sometimes the sense of responsibility burdens me, and I have to find a way to unburden myself, to take it more playfully and more as a game. And sometimes I use different tricks how to do that. But we also have to spiritually cleanse ourselves constantly on a day-to-day basis, because we inhale so much from the environment, which is getting more toxic by the day. So it's like, it is constantly happening. It is extreme, but we have to understand it first. We have to know this is what's happening. Like Spirit said, this is war, you know. They said the most dangerous form of war is not that which you can see and it's happening and they're perpetuating on TV, and you know, all the shootings and killings and mass murders, yes. But they're telling me there's a bigger form of war that is so invisible that it's like engulfing all of us. It's not just happening at certain parts of the planet. Even that is manipulation, telling you, oh, this place, you know, let's say we had a war in Afghanistan, we'll have, you know, that's where the countries are in war. No, the whole planet right now is in war, because it's happening from different precipitation levels, you know, in the lower astral level, which keeps on collapsing more and more, but it's still ongoing. So they're telling us to be the initiates. That's the Jack of Diamonds, which is Earth. It's talking about being initiated, learning, skill building. You know, you are always an eternal apprentice here. So that's that. That was the next one. The next one was the King of Earth, right? The King of Pentacles as well, which is connection with Earth, mastery through Earth, but also in a way it is abundance, but is staying. You see, this being here is like a totally immersed in nature, like staying connected with the Earth brings us the spiritual mastery that we need. Because there's a difference. I was even thinking today when I was mushrooming. I was mushrooming today. What a word. I had this thought, wow, it's so different to just, you know, maybe you lie in a hammock in nature, to be outside, to be outdoors, or to be with nature and in nature, really being with the elements. So different. You know, when I was mushroom picking, I was really with Earth. And I was grounding, and it's not just about picking mushrooms, you know, you pick a few, then you eat them, or, you know, very nutritious though, better than any tofu you can eat, you know, but still, there's a difference, there's this unity at oneness, and that's when you're safe. I always feel safe in the forest, like so safe. I don't feel the same at the beach, there's too many people coming. But there's different vibrations of different spaces we have to find, you know. When you need more healing energy, when I need more rest, I'll be by the water. But at certain times it just doesn't work, or it gets too crowded, and I know I have to move. And if I don't move, I get very feeling like a victim. Oh, people are attacking me with their presence. Oh, I don't find peace. That's when Life Force tells you, move, go elsewhere. It's not for you right now. And we have to be like those characters that, you know, people only perpetuate through playing video games. They're always on the move. You know, you pick this item, ooh, you know, nutrition, nourishment, oh, I need this, I get that, you know. We have to be those characters in real life, right? Now we have the Nine of Pentacles. Here is the fish. It's like constantly re-energizing the inner resources. It's also that replenishment. Oh, but I want to know what it is in the booklet, though. I'm really interested. So I have the Nine of, let me see. In the booklet, it's about hermit as well. Sacrifice without regret and self-care. Yeah, you see that mastery of skill building, training, apprenticeship, but at the same time, ooh, we have to really rest as well. We have to take care of ourselves, because Nine of Pentacles is often always related with pleasure, when you're in pleasure mode. But first preparedness, then you know, you realize, oh, now I'm resting. Oh, I've done my energy building today. Now I'm resting and recharging. It has to be the beautiful flow. Then we have, it's very interesting, 10 of, again, of air. Here in this deck, oh, we have a rooster that's announcing something. I think that's the Last Judgment. Let me see. Let us see. So we have 10 of Spades, Judgment, waking up, and announcement. Yes, we have to wake up to what's happening. And the rooster is like, do you really hear the call? Can you really hear it? Am I not loud enough for you guys? And then the next one is the Star, which is here the Seven of Pentacles as well. Because like I said, these major and minor arcanas are enmeshed here. So we have the Star. It's a beautiful message of, let's see what it says here. It is hope and healing. So that's how we heal. You know, it's not just being in beautiful energy and meditating all day. That only gets half of the things covered, you know. We have to go on terrain. We have to meet real life. And the last one I pulled specifically, I said, what's the final message? And we had the Joker, or the Fool, which is freedom and fearlessness. It's like I said, we have to always be open, because no way that we learn maybe somewhere from a certain course or somewhere is the final way. We're in constant training now. It's like, I always say this, oh, today I will go to the beach, and this week I might go to the beach. That's what I feel, this will be maybe my beach week. No, you know, we can't rest somewhere for too long. Sometimes, you know, the weather surprises you, or the false weather manipulation, or people come and they intrude. And instead of feeling like a victim, we have to see, oh, there's a message there. What's required of me. And when I feel that, I know when it's time for me to do my shamanic work. There's been a lot of shamanic work as well, we did on Patreon, how to really be in that state of preparedness. I also want to read you this beautiful message someone, a dear friend of mine, a companion, sent to me about this realizing all the aspects. You don't have to know everything that's happening in the world, absolutely not. But when something is presented to you, don't just go with the status quo story and go, yeah, it's all fine. Do more research if that maybe is your path. There's a lot of people who do that. So let me say this. Let me read you this from my friend. So he was commenting on my presentation. I was saying, yes, acknowledge the presence of the dark waves that are engulfing and overwhelming many people. Countless times I hear or read actually comments from others still completely locked into the old New Age perspective, often as if life on earth now is so wonderful and blissful. So not true. They're singing and dancing around while tossing rose petals in the air all day long. Not that we need to dwell upon it, but we need to be aware that nearly everything we've been programmed to believe has been either severely distorted or is outright fiction. You know, a lot of things are just really put out there to, like I said, distract you. You think war is going on this part of the planet, but my region of the planet is safe. You know, that constant state of thinking within people that nothing can ever happen to them, or their part of the world, or their house, or their garden, or, you know, nothing. Don't take anything for granted nowadays, right? This is true training for the volunteer soul specifically. People, generally speaking, don't realize that they're living their lives in a carefully constructed and well-controlled illusion, not realizing that the Matrix movies were actually a real-life documentary. Even many people believing they're awake and aware have no clue that nearly everything and every event they see on TV news programs are totally fabricated lies. They seem to know nothing about the fact that we, with few exceptions, all have artificial intelligence, etheric implants controlling our perceptions and gateways to knowledge and wisdom. Many aren't aware that all of our social media sites are being controlled by AI. I went off Facebook for good. Or the fact that quantum computers in places like CERN are actually opening portals to the lower fourth density. That's true as well. Many self-proclaimed awakened people have no idea that global warming is a lie, of course, being used to foment the New World Order agenda. They have no idea how scientifically advanced the dark souls that are currently in control actually are. These scientists were already in the Dark Atlantis days. You know, they're just perpetuating their old stories again with major friction. Few realize that California and many other places across the globe, including the Notre Dame Cathedral, were toasted by directed energy and scalar weaponry. Most realize the difference between contrails and chemtrails, but few realize that they have absolute control of our weather, and are creating all the weather-related problems worldwide while blaming it on the rise in CO2 and global warming. Sometimes I'd like to say knock knock. So and then he mentions also that he won't even go into pedophilia, transgenderism, the sexual exploitation of the children, other such demented and perverted agendas taking place. We do need to dance, sing, become playful, creative, and have fun together, but people must at least become somewhat aware of these things and what we're up against before we can truly work together to effect changes for the better. Let me add that I was a bit shocked, but I think it was a wonderful decision to let others know about your experiencing relentless attacks from those who wish to silence you, and mostly they're energetic attacks, you know, and the whispers. I'm secure enough to say that it's been a while, and real occasion or two when I got up and turned on the bedroom light before going back to sleep. Yeah, energetically as well. So the only thing that works and ever shall work, like I said before, is building the light being within. It's becoming these super amazing, skilled, light, technological light beings that we look at other, you know, star beings upon and say, wow, they're advanced brothers and sisters. They want to relate these gifts to us. And I'm having goosebumps all over now when I'm saying this. They want to, through the energetic dispensations that are present, and I mentioned how they made me aware of the pulsar technique that does exactly that, which helps for people to be reinvigorated by true spiritualized life force instead of, you know, staying stuck in their bubble. But a lot of these bubbles are self-created as well, because people are shielding instead of protecting in a divinely innate way. That's organic, and it just works because that's how we're created. And that's when you understand the laws of life force, you understand how things are being moved. You will even have a compassionate understanding of the dark waves and their purpose on earth, and their sort of like waves of restriction, because there's this friction created because of the resistance. And you will have a better envisioning and understanding of everything, and how light and dark truly are dancing now, two equal opponents, right? Equally powerful. However, there's no greater power when you actually tune into the non-artificial but completely organic life force. And instead of perpetuating these dark controlling aspects, you realize that it's not just about being equally powerful. It's about one that understands that their true power is not being like opponents, but because you start to engulf the light, light starts to engulf the dark, eventually they just become one spiral, right? And this is what a lot of us have been doing. Have understanding and compassion that we do work non-stop. I didn't get as much rest as I planned this summer. I would need a vacation at the end of summer. You know what's funny? Because here this summer, it's not really an enjoyable place to be because so many tourists and people come. The place is just packed with toxic energy. And I'm thinking winters are much better. Of course, there's snow and there's less plant life and, you know, life in general, and it's cold. It's super cold. But the energy is much purer in winter times. So kudos to winter. In a way, you know, it's when nature cleanses, and we're being cleansed as well. And this is when I can do more of my spiritual studies and advancements in winter time. And summer I'm more like integrating all of that. And it's challenging because sometimes, you know, you think, oh, today I'll do that, or I want to write something up and I want to channel, and then I'm disturbed. And sometimes the body won't allow you to always run somewhere, like go up the hill in the middle of the forest. The body's just so tired. It can move everywhere. And for me, that was recently the case, because I couldn't always move somewhere else. And that brought an inability and a feeling of sadness. And I felt so sad because I felt like it's so getting so static. Like, what am I even going to do with the planet if I can't even move my body? Hello? It's been really intense. And now they're telling me that this, in a way, also served the purpose, because even if you're completely static, we don't shift the energy by just going to a middle of nowhere where we're all alone and it's all get better. Because when the energy hits, you can be hiding in the middle of the forest, but it's still, you're being energetically raped. I don't know how to find a better word, but you have to develop this technology, and this is what the pulsar of light is about. You're just beaming, you're wherever you are. Of course, at the beginning stages, you have to find your still spot, your still place when you can master this in your aloneness, in hermit mode. But then eventually, when you're so masterful, they're telling me you can do it anywhere at any time without, just being disturbed or developing this such as a heightened sensitivity to sound, which is a gift. But these lower toxic sound frequencies that I have here on a daily basis, because they're constantly building something, and my own building has become a building ground as well. But it's helped me in a way, instead of thinking that I can't do this because the body's so sensitive and I can't stand these frequencies, to, instead of this negative programming, say, look, if I master myself and use the skills of my light being in the human flesh form, then everything or anything is possible. But of course it takes work, and it's not overnight. And we have to continuously trust ourselves. So when you feel these dark oppressing waves, and you feel maybe thoughts of leaving the planet and it's just getting unbearable here, hold on a while longer, because then the shift comes. Okay, just keep it tight, just keep it rolling a while longer. I don't know what else to say, but I've been experiencing a lot of this myself, and I had to recognize, and then I had to realize, wow, I came to the extreme amount of how much toxic energy I can digest, can hold. And then I had this guidance, now just spit it out. And there's different forms. Sometimes I'll just cry it out, sometimes I'll scream it out, and sometimes I'll use physical activity. But either way, when it's done, and then I have like my spiritual bath, then it's just done, and I feel, wow, I'm in my energy again. But I know I can't rest in that state forever, because it will just keep on coming. That's what we're doing here. It's a gradual integration towards union. And there are waves of constant oppression and resistance. And it's getting more frequent. They're telling me the frequency of things getting, more often, more increased in their activity on a periodical basis. It means we're getting closer and closer, because they're needing to impact stronger and stronger, like, But remember, the pulsar is very like, like one of those star movies. When you hear the sound, like movie themes from the 80s, they have this ring to it. Beep, 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 like the kind of sound. I know it's funny me trying to impersonate that here today, but it's very similar. Sometimes you will even maybe be able to hear it, but it's not something you can do mentally. You can't just sit and say, oh, let me, use this pulsar of light. If you don't even know what it is, you don't know how to raise the life force enough so this light quotient could overspill and start rotating in such a way. It's from quantum to physical, but there's many stages in between. So it is what it is. So if you ever want to start learning more, all of these courses are now on my Patreon page. You can join anytime. There's no, rush. When you feel supported enough or guided and you feel your call, that's there. It's like energetic reciprocity for the work I do, and that shows love and respect as much as I love and respect all of you. And great love, caring, devotion. I think that's that for today. Maybe I want to show the shoe one more time. No, I will rather wrap it up with a beautiful mushroom. I think so. And appreciating the beauty of things that center us into the knowing that life on earth is still beautiful. It's not the life on earth is not beautiful. It's just that this path is very challenging. But life on earth is still beautiful. And in these moments of intense shifts, we have to create the kind of conditions that will bring us to that, right? That we're experiencing, oh, life on earth is still beautiful. We have to imprint ourselves with that. Because we're constantly being whispered with these dark thoughts, like, oh, this is getting out of hand. It's like the experiment is out of your hands. You have no more chance. We can't stand a chance. It's all falling apart. You know, these thoughts are not ours. They're not from the team light. When you hear thoughts like that, recognize that there's whispers somewhere along. And these minions have their play and their pay probably as well, but it's not coming from the light. So either way, guys, this was serious / playful menu approach. I hope you liked it. If you don't, thank the mushrooms, because they made me into that mode today. They assisted with that process. And now I have to carry them home before they get spoiled. And I'll see you whenever I do see you. I am now going to start creating my Patreon content for next month and doing some rest as well. As well as it's time to kick myself in the butt and doing the daily pulsar technique and to master that for good. It's time. I'll see you guys. So much love, wisdom, power as always. Mwah. Take care. Tremendous love.